just a little bit so I could it out in Asian context. Okay. Then
Yeah. It is 30. It's 30 Nikali.
it's the name is a rule.
Kevin, no. Oh, you're not ready. Hey, yo, fam, what's up? My name is Kevin. Welcome to Kevin News. So today I'm here with the president of the SRC. Probably you've heard this many times before, and I'm going to tell you again today. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Sure. No. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. It's a pleasure to have me today in your channel. Yeah.
Tato Masego, I didn't say his name.
Sure.
Masego, president. So, yeah, we're going to talk about the role of the SRC. Role of the SRC. So let's talk about the members. The members of the SRC.
Okay.
Can you release them? Because we know the president, people know the DP, some people know this. The secretary is not that popular like the treasurer. These three, these are the most famous ones. So let's list all of them because there's 15 seats in the SRC, but we always know the top two, president and deputy president.
All right. No, that is not a problem. I think, thank you. Like I said, in the SRC, we have got about 15 members. Well, I will list going down. The president, which is myself. The deputy president is Thabiso Mapocha. The secretary general is Remsley Ramasetla. The deputy secretary is Mobile Zulu. The treasurer is Mabatu. And then we've got additional members in the SRC, like the additional portfolios.
Yeah.
That is the first one is the projects and campaign. Projects and campaign is Mario. And then culture and religion officer is Gavisili. And then the sports and recreation officer is Clement. And then we've got the residence officer who is Katlego Maleba. And then we go to the school council. School council.
The other five we can just say is for 5 schools. Each school has a chairperson.
Yeah.
Let's summarize it like.
Okay. Yes. And then the postgrad is Vugala Maberemis. I'm sure we all know him. Yes. Tato Pasha School of Science and Technology. Javu School of Pharmacy. Chris Ndove School of Healthcare. Kumalo School of Medicine.
So, okay, from the 15, how many, like, what are the gender statistics from the 15 members?
Gender equity, we've got more males than females within the structure. I think we've got about, if not 3, we've got Mavatu, we've got Mario, we've got Gavisile. Yes, that is like about...
From 15, we only have 3.
And Tato Pasha, I think 4. So we've got 4 females.
Oh, yeah.
And then we've got about 11 males, which is, patriarchal. But I think we must also encourage women participation within these leadership roles. Politics sometimes it's something else. Quite an interesting space to exist in, but because understanding that we don't have independent electorate.
Yeah.
If we had that, then you would analyze it differently. But now we analyze it based on deployment policies that exist in different organizations, and they would deploy based on what they believe is best to govern themselves. So you therefore don't even have any right to go to any organization to say, hey, we've got males in the SRC, deploy a female. You understand?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So there's this top 5. Is it 5 members? The executive.
Yes.
It's always an interesting time. Constitution. It's an interesting time to be aware of what's happening with student politics. Because you can know the executive. What's so special about the executive members in the SRC?
Well, the executive, the executive members of the SRC assist in executing of duties of SRC members. That goes directly to resources, that goes directly to support, that goes directly to immediate functions of the SRC, most of them they bind the executive of the SRC. Most of the time, the reason it becomes a conversation, honestly speaking, is mostly based on the signing powers and office here.
So you mentioned position here, King House Committee, Residence Office.
Yeah, now it's the residence office.
Okay, we have a seat where the residence officer. We have that one here, King Culture and Religion.
Yeah.
Those two. So are you saying those two seats cannot execute anything without the powers of the executive?
Well, in essence, the executive would sign a plan, like the money. I think most of the conversation is about the money this, money that. This costed how much.
Yeah.
So the allocation of budget is decided mostly by the executive. So, and let's say, for instance, a residence officer is bringing up a proposal of Ubuntu games together with the sports officer. Now, they come up with the proposal, drafted, maybe come up with the estimated costs. Now, when it comes to the executive, you probably have to check, guided by the treasurer too, to check how much is going to be, whether it's within their budget constraints,
So
and you sign.
the executive will finalize. Say.
Along those lines.
Thing is now it makes
Actually
me,
sign.
Yeah.
You sign.
So the residence officer is unable, without the executive, unable to move on their own,
Or the resources of the SRC.
or unable to move with the resources of the SRC.
Yeah, I mean the signing powers actually, according to the constitution, is that TGSGPG. Like that's, if you are to look even historically, people would prefer having strategic positions. What they call strategic positions is positions that actually have a decision-making responsibility or powers. Yes, you can call it a power. Yeah, that I think yes.
Okay. So it's tricky because now I want to ask you about the unit, because now we have a trend since let's say since we came here, the SRC has a culture of division. It's a thrill at this point. It's not that you guys don't like each other or you guys have real problems. No, it's a culture. It's something that is practiced. As an SRC member from this political structure, I must be having conflict with that other structure. Why? Because my predecessors had problems with his predecessors. What is this thing of division for SRC? Like, the SRC is supposed to be one structure, but now current affairs, current events, like recent SRCs, wow, it's not the case.
No, Kevin, that is an interesting analysis, I must say. But you know what they say: a fool inherit enemies without questioning what they did, which is actually true. It happens a lot because you would understand each and every structure has got a mandate to whatever extent it serves.
Yeah.
Now, second to that being the case, you would therefore have the SRC members come into office to oppose or to govern. That's when maybe sometimes it requires some element of maturity in governance. Well, I think maturity can. Let me withdraw it. It's a derogatory. I will withdraw that. But it's a governance principle to say, guys, we are all here, probably elected differently, but to lead a common goal. Now, one of the biggest problems there comes to say, okay, if we allow the SRC led by this particular structure, it might achieve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we did not achieve. That's where it now it's even personal. Like you understand, like I'm saying, to find out that okay, maybe the last year we were led by SASCO. The SRC led by SASCO would have achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, or can achieve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the SRC led by the Student Command would also say, no, maybe we cannot really agree that the SRC led by SASCO can achieve this, because maybe that can go down in the book of history and students can remember it. So you must try by all means that maybe you
to control what goes down in the book of
Of course. At least so that you then have some legacy to stand on. And the same thing would happen when the SRC led by the ANC youth league would then come to be the case. And then you find time and again situations whereby comrades would oppose. It's I think universally, maybe learning from national politics, it seems like it's a norm to oppose.
It's a norm to defame.
Without, I think maybe that's rather a good term.
So now,
it's not a good one, but yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's
So
a terrible
now,
one.
I hear what you're saying. This thing, you're opposing each other within the SRC, like from political structures, in order to control your popularity. Because if now the SRC led by this structure does this big thing, this structure is going to be popular for some time. So people are trying to control that popularity by all these squabbles. Ne? So now there's what we call factions. You find that this structure is with this structure and then supporting the leadership of this structure. What does that say about these structures that group each other and then let one structure lead? What does it say about them and the confidence in themselves?
Hey, that's interesting. You see, when we speak about factions, according to what I know, the like once a faction is established, it is established for a certain reason.
Yeah.
And once that reason dissipates, the faction doesn't exist. Well, other structures agree to govern. Like you find the longest. Not the longest, at least for 2 years. We've always been having the EFF, Student Command, and SASCO alliance. Well, let me call it an alliance just so that they feel better about it. Okay, let me.
Okay,
it's a better term.
Let's not talk about the other structures. Let's talk about yours here, Youth League.
Okay.
Who is your alliance?
Well,
you wouldn't want to disclose.
No. Our Universal Alliance had always been in Student Christian Fellowship.
Oh, SCF.
That has it's always been a structure that in history when we were losing, they were with us. When we were winning, they were with us. And there's been that universal, cohesion of.
So now positions are not equal. You know that. There's a higher position. So I want to know the criteria for a structure to go to the not so higher position. What's the criteria?
What is the not so higher position?
I would say
give me an example of the not so higher position.
The highest position is the president. The others, the rest are the not so high. So that's the difference.
No. What we basically look into within the SRC, we look at maybe strategic positions.
Yeah.
Strategic positions basically speaks about where you can be creative, where your creativity is not limited, where you can move around, probably make things happen. And I think actually that actually since my tenure, I'm realizing that almost every position is powerful. It's just that people must understand the expectation of the position they do, and once you fulfill that, you can therefore move around. I mean, you can look at the project's officer and become the most influential one. You can take CRO, become the most influential one. You can take DFG,
but given the culture of the alliances, you can have the residence officer and not have members of your alliance in the executive. Now it's a problem. Yeah.
Well, let me agree with you on that. The diversity of the office really it's interesting. And sometimes finding stability is one of the most difficult things.
Yeah.
Because you then realize that even in history, of other SRCs, they spend a lot of times fighting each other, that they actually lose the momentum of the reason why they are sent to office. which is to represent students.
That's what I wanted to ask.
And the moment when you therefore lose the meaning of the reason why you are in office, then everything else collapses.
Yeah.
You therefore have an SRC that is always fighting amongst each other.
Yeah.
You know, at least maybe the first few months you don't really understand each other, but let's have a common goal and common understanding to say, okay, sharp guys, I come from the ANC clique, you come from whichever structure that you come from. But now we are not we are saving all students irregardless of the political organization they come from, irregardless of whether they belong to an organization, irregardless of whether they voted or not. It's the confidence you therefore have to give to the student body, not the confidence of saying you are always at the like trolling another political organization, or looking at another member of the other organization with the aim of dealing with them, or always fighting. For me at least, that is unnecessary, especially when you are serving in a statutory recognized body like the SRC.
That's what I was coming to. This thing of factions, thing of representation, oppositions. I feel like now we have moved from a movement of this lack of unity. It has transformed now to this movement they are sabotageana. Status is more WhatsApp are always trending every day.
WhatsApp status
this
is
one
scary.
against this one against this one, and then the people that suffer from this behavior is the students. I remember I was so angry last year ya constitution in other position the DP when it was having problems given the purpose of the DP. Then now we are struggling to elect the DP because squabbles within political structures. Who's going to suffer if an SRC does not have a DP? It's the students. But now politicians were focusing on each other, or no, it has to be you. No, it can't be me. Hey, you can't tell me what to do. Hey, so that the question, the priority, student leaders, where does it lie? Does it lie on proving a point or when you have power, or do you prioritize representing students? Is it about having power or about representing students? That is my concern.
No. That's interesting. Hey, well. You mean the one for my term?
Yeah. The one for your term.
All right. No. There was a serious debacle on that, and I think also, you see, most of the time once you centralize politics to everything, purpose is lost.
Yeah.
So and I had seen it a lot, witnessed it, that we lose purpose because of proving a point, because maybe you want to show that you are opposition, or maybe you want to prove a point, or whatever reason that might exist thereof. So it's also hard to interpret what other people are thinking in their brains, to say, okay, maybe they are, you can think, okay, maybe their plan is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Find that maybe their plan is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we having that kind of a problem is because we therefore, remember, Kevin, that when we constitute, we all come from different organizations. But when you get there, at least we try to love each other. Hey, you can take this, you can take that. And that is based on numbers. And remember, democratic centralism dictates that he who has got numbers takes decisions. It's democracy on its own. Democracy is painful as it is, but it dictates that he who has got numbers takes decisions. And the most painful part about it is that sometimes democracy can favor you, sometimes it can't. For whatever reason that those things might be there, existing there. So that's why you actually find yourself not really agreeing, but it took us some time to have an official deputy president and other and CRO. But it was also based on organizational problem, because sometimes organizations have their own problems and they have to sort them out. You probably understand, and we probably at the time, if you're not a member of an organization, you wouldn't know anything. or what is the plan of the organization. But you would know that once two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Yeah.
No, but then understanding the same thing is that once you then have got some of the positions within the SRC that can actually assist in execution of duties of other offices. That is, when you look around the SRC constitution, other portfolios are a supporting role, like fees, office of G, office of DP.
Yeah.
Most of the things are supportive roles to other structures.
Yeah.
Like if maybe there is a problem at sports, we find ourselves there as a supporting role. If there is a problem in academics, we find ourselves there as a supporting role. So you play that supporting role within the structure. So sometimes whenever there is a person not available, the position that plays a supportive role can assume immediate functions of the office that is not there, which can be overwhelming, to have all other issues coming to one office, which actually is a problem. But it's just the problem with democracy, really, and your ability to lobby or maybe something like that.
Besides being within the SRC, members, political heads, some SME. Also, there's that culture. Pila, I want to understand it, or maybe it's you cannot. I don't know. Maybe I'll never understand it. This thing here, there's a community release you, and then these ones are going to be beta. They are going to attack that community, and then these ones are like it's going to be a lot. This thing, it confuses the students, guys. And then a lot of people say SMU politics are dying. SMU politics are dying. It's because of this thing. You're confused at this. If I was to get into politics, I know I'm getting there to fight other people's mistakes, not to represent. So this thing, actually, it's me venting here. Excuse me. This thing must stop, comrades.
No, actually,
it must stop.
But I think also understanding, Kevin, that sometimes we give inaccurate information.
Yeah.
Sometimes we give accurate information. But when you know that there is someone who can give accurate information, let's give them a space. Okay. One thing that I would understand is that we all want to oppose.
Yeah.
We opposed. Yeah. Everybody wants to get an opportunity to oppose. And maybe that is a problem. But sometimes, you have to plead with comrades. Say, comrades, at least give us a space to lead. Which is something a little bit harder to say.
Yeah.
Let's at least bring back the SRC back to the position it best deserves.
Yeah.
To say, let's have an SRC, and students knowing that we've got an SRC that is going to represent us with whatever issue that we can have. The SRC can therefore represent us. But now what we then have is that within the SRC doing its job, we've got political parties that have a right to claim, have a right to do all of these things, to whom I agree with. Because of course, personally, I'm a deployee of the ANC clique.
Yeah.
And whatever the ANC clique probably would be saying in a community will be speaking to me, about me, if it's related to the SRC, will be somehow interlinked with me. Maybe it's just that all of us, as comrades and as students, we've got a responsibility to build the culture we want within the institution. We can say now we want to build a culture of statuses. We'll be responding to each other the whole time. I mean, I can write a status. The only thing that you need is just to have those two people who are communicating to each other on your WhatsApp, so you become entertained. Oh, this one just said this.
Screenshot.
So it's also a culture that we can either leave it to grow, or we can grow a culture that can be better. To say there are better ploys of engaging each other, which is at the center of what I would call political tolerance. We must be able to tolerate each other, no matter what political party we come from.
With that, I would say, Sharp, we can go with both. We can build a culture of political tolerance, at the same time build this culture, the political status is why, for curiosity. to, there's not a lot of people that are interested in student politics, which is starting to become a problem now. That's why you find Barry godfatherism in politics. It's because there's no new members, so the old members are going to rule forever. So now, if this culture, this status, people are going to screenshot, it's going to capture people this thing through statuses, because the communication sometimes does not reach unless if it's a status. The status will reach
Alright.
the masses. So
Well, how about we have an SRC that then becomes interesting with student issues?
yeah,
Like an SRC that will
Yeah.
will always be centered to student issues.
That's-
Whenever
yeah.
there's an issue there, because you therefore realize that we had been having a void of communication between SRC and students, maybe management. Maybe these guys, they say they work, but students don't know.
yeah.
Even when you go there to say you are the SRC, you say, oh, the SRC doesn't do anywhere.
Yeah.
Because when the SRC works, it doesn't really tell back to say, guys, you are working.
yeah.
Because sometimes they say when you give someone food, you mustn't carry the camera with you. At the same time, they are still going to ask you to say you are not working if you do
Where?